Welcome to what I think is the least appealing Hyundai in the showroom. Now, I know that sounds pretty harsh, but just hear me out for a second. I mean that as in Hyundai already has plenty of other good products. This is just the least appealing because it doesn't really stand out with anything special. If you want a faster EV, they've got faster EVs. If you want better handling EVs, they've got better handling EVs. If you want petrol powered, pops and bangs, they've got those as well. If you want a large practical SUV, Hyundai offers that as well. This is the new Hyundai Elexio. It's basically a fully electric alternative to the Hyundai Tucson, which again is also a very good vehicle. Firstly, it does stand out a little bit with a unique design theme compared with other Hyundai products. It's got this kind of bubbly, bulbous sort of theme to it. Pouncing wheel arches. It's got the black highlights around the wheel arches as well to give it that SUV look. And around at the back, it's kind of a hot hatch, but it's also merged in with a sedan and a bit of wagon as well. My personal opinion is it does look a little bit odd, which is probably a good thing in this market segment. There are a lot of fully electric SUVs in this class that offer pretty similar specifications as well, like 160 kilowatt power output. That seems to be the norm these days for this type of vehicle. The downside to this though, it is pretty expensive, priced from just under $60,000 excluding on-road costs. And if you have a look at some of the rivals from some of the newer brands as well, they have at least the same specifications or better, like as in more range or more power, for less money. So it's a bit of a hard sell for Hyundai, but you are paying for Hyundai's local network. So Hyundai's been in Australia for 30, 40 years. It has a full network up and running. So if you need some parts or whatever, if you need to buy one, if you need to get it serviced, there's going to be some sort of contact point near you relative to other newer brands that are out at the moment that have a smaller footprint. So what sort of specifications are we talking about here? It's got an 88.1 kilowatt hour battery. It's an LFP BYD based blade style of battery. And that sends power to a front electric motor producing 160 kilowatts and 310 Newton meters, sent through a single speed automatic, of course. It takes in a maximum of 10 kilowatts with AC power for charging or 150 kilowatts with DC fast charging. Those figures aren't that impressive. They're pretty average actually, especially the DC power of 150 kilowatts. There are a lot of rivals out there that can do better than that, and there's a lot of other models in Hyundai's showroom that can also do better than that. That's because this is based on a 400 volt EGMP platform, unlike other Hyundai products that are 800 volts, so faster charging capability. There are two main variants. This is the top spec model. Easy way to spot it is it has the 20-inch alloy wheels. They're wrapped in 255/45 Nexon tires. They look like they're EV eco-friendly tires as well, or eco-focused tires. Now, if you thought the exterior was different for a Hyundai product, check out this interior. You've got a massive touchscreen on the passenger side. When I first got in, I thought, hang on a minute, this is a left-hand drive example, but then the steering wheel is on this side. It does take a little bit to get used to. It's kind of unusual, but it means the passenger can fiddle around with various controls. They've even got their own home button up there, and then the driver has this main menu option down here with all your controls and your apps and so on. I do think it's a bit fiddly compared with physical controls, and again, Hyundai's other products, usually have separate climate controls and they're buttons and switches. So they're always there, they're common, you know where they are. This is much more fiddly to use. You've got to go in here and the buttons are quite small as well. If you're driving along, you've got to really focus on this screen and not focus on the road. You do have a head-up display there, which is neatly tucked away in the base of the windscreen. Does mean that you've got a bespoke windscreen sticker over the top there, but at least you do have something. You don't have to rely on the speed readout here. Look, I'm not a huge fan of screen takeovers, but they seem to be the fashion these days, and it is very big and impressive. The technology that it runs and the software and everything seems to be very responsive, very clear graphics. So it's got all that. It just means that, everything that you do, or almost everything, is within that screen. It does have a start button, which is awesome. It means when I get out of the vehicle or just take my bum off the seat, everything doesn't turn off. It stays on, which is awesome. A lot of electric vehicles out there, you get out, straight away everything turns off. I know you can program some of them to remain on, but I think it's good to have a start button. The gear selector rotator switch down here. You do have physical controls, physical switches for the handbrake And then you've still got all of the conventional controls and buttons on the steering wheel. Plenty of storage around the place. You've got twin wireless chargers on this example, little cubby hole you can hide things away, and you've got this rotating cup holder mechanism thing. I mean, it's so you can use this as a storage tray or cup holders, but you could probably just have that permanent and it would still be a storage tray anyway. But anyway, a bit of a gimmick and something to play around with. Then you've got storage under the center console as well. Now this is the first Hyundai product, sorry, the first Hyundai passenger vehicle sold in Australia that's made in China. And I know this is going to sound a bit odd, but I can kind of tell just by sitting in the driver's seat, the driving position isn't ideal. Like, the seat doesn't go low enough. I'm only 170 centimeters, so I'm pretty short anyway, but I like the seat to be a bit lower than that. And then the steering column, it does have rake and reach adjustment, but it's kind of out at an angle. It kind of sticks up, so you sort of feel like you're sitting on a stool with the steering wheel down below. It's not completely natural in my opinion. And again, falling back on that whole, the least appealing Hyundai product, all other Hyundai products are perfect, for me anyway. Like, I can get in and I can just find that nice natural position, whereas this, it does feel a little bit awkward. Up at the back, as is usually the case with electric vehicles, you've got a nice flat floor because this is just two-wheel drive, so there's no need for a drive shaft or anything running through there. You've got a flip down armrest, cup holders, and even a little drawer that pulls out from the back. I do like this kind of suede lining for the bottom of that pocket. And then you've got climate vents in the back, in the side of the B-pillar. Decent amount of room here. Like, this is roughly the size of a Tucson. It's actually, the Tucson's got a 5mm longer wheelbase, but 5mm is nothing. It's pretty much identical in dimensions to the Tucson. So it gives you a bit of an idea of the size and space in here, but you don't have that center driveline tunnel running through. So you've got plenty of room, including for the middle seat passenger. And all of the fit and finish and materials feel really good. There's hardly any scratchy plastics actually. You even got this suede-like microfiber trim across the door card, neat little cup holder in the side, and even leather or leatherette trim. And then up at the back, we've got an electronic tailgate on this example. You've got just over 500 litres or 1,540 litres when you flip down the rear seats. You do have a power socket on the back, 250 volts, 16 amps. It's an Australian outlet plug with some hooks and tie-down points scattered around. And then underneath you've got some more storage and little pockets on the sides as well. That is pretty much the same as the Hyundai Tucson in terms of space and practicality. And unfortunately, there's no extra space under the bonnet. So some EVs will have a little bucket under there, whereas this doesn't have anything under there. All right, let's take this for a drive and see how it goes, see how it handles. I'm here as part of the launch event, so I'm at a set location, so I can't do the full performance test, but I'll try and do a 0 to 100 somewhere on a 100km/h speed limit zone. All right, so to start with, I'm going to leave all the safety systems turned on, but I do notice actually that the lane keep assist does remain off once you get out of the vehicle and turn it off. I'll just prove that to you. So let's let the whole system reset for a second. Get back in, foot on the brake, start it back up, and we'll see this symbol remains off. So that is kind of good, but I don't know how that works with ANCAP. I'm sure they require it to turn back on, but anyway, I think it's good that it's turned off and remained off, but it does have a driver monitoring camera, and I think it is a little bit too sensitive if you're wearing glasses. And by the way, if you're wearing polarized glasses, the head-up display pretty much turns completely black. But yeah, if you're wearing glasses, like I've been driving this morning, and the driver monitoring camera was going off quite a bit, to the point where it turns systems back on. Like the lane keep assist actually turned back on just because it thought I wasn't paying attention or whatever. But if I've manually turned that off, it should remain off in my opinion. Unlike a lot of other EVs on the market at the moment, this has been Australian tested and tuned. So a lot of engineers came out from Nanyang in Korea, as well as the Chinese headquarters, to come out and do some testing in our conditions. So some of that feedback comes back into the vehicle, and that's what we get here. So it's kind of been calibrated for Australia. I've been told that some of the ADAS systems have also been, well, our conditions have at least been acknowledged in the development of those systems. But as I said, this driver monitoring camera still seems too sensitive in my opinion. We'll go for a drive and see if it goes off. I'm not wearing my sunglasses at the moment, so it might not go off, but it might be a little bit annoyed by the camera on top of my head. It does have the blind spot camera pop up when you hit the indicator, so that is cool. Without trying to annoy the person next to me, I'll hit the other side and it will show the other view from cameras underneath the side mirrors. And usually in Hyundai Kia products you get that in the instrument cluster, but that's now been moved over to here obviously. So yeah, I don't think having that screen over the passenger side is, you know, all that great in the scheme of things. Like, I don't think many other manufacturers are going to adopt that. I don't know whether Hyundai will keep going with that either. I mean, I would prefer my own cluster for my own information. The whole cabin doesn't need to know about, you know, whether I'm indicating and all that. It should be over here, in my opinion, but still pretty advanced technology and pretty cool, sort of has that wow factor about it. Now, obviously, being an electric vehicle, it is very quiet and very smooth, and in that sense, it does give it a kind of luxury edge compared with, well, for example, the Hyundai Tucson. This is definitely, you know, a more refined drive experience in that regard. It's pretty easy to drive. It's got good visibility out the front. You've got a bit of a gap between the A-pillar and the side mirror. Around the back, it is a little bit more confined due to that kind of unusual tailgate, the bubbly tailgate. So you don't get as much view as you do in some mid-size SUVs, but all in all, it's pretty decent for this class. Now, in terms of power and performance and all that, 160 kilowatts is about average. As I said, it's about the norm for this class. But torque, 310 Newton meters, is a little bit below some rivals. They have, you know, 320, 330, or even beyond that. And you do kind of feel it mainly at speed. So if you're going 80 kilometers an hour and need to overtake somebody, you don't get that top end that you do get in some EVs. I'll just slow down here. We're going up a, you know, relatively steep hill, I guess, 50 kilometers an hour, full throttle. It doesn't push you back in your seat as much as some other EVs. And I think that's a bit of a sort of a downside of EVs. You automatically expect them to go fast because a lot of them do. Whereas this is probably going to be quicker than an equivalent Tucson, but it just doesn't have that excitement of other EVs out there. Even the Ioniq 5 does feel quicker than this. Again though, this is smooth. Like, it's not like a touchy throttle on-off switch. It will just gradually pick up speed. So it is a bit of a luxury car in that way. Handling is really good though. I've got typical Hyundai steering in that it gives me some information and feedback, not too much, not too sensitive. Suspension and ride quality is very good. It's absorbing the country roads out in Australia here very, very well, and it doesn't seem upset to hit bumps even during cornering. So you won't get that in some of the rivals, particularly those from the newer brands that just haven't been calibrated as well for our conditions. Looks like it might start pouring down in a second, so I might hold off the 0 to 100 test until tomorrow morning. But all in all, look, you can feel that it's a Hyundai product. Apart from the driving position, it does have that Hyundai DNA about it in the way that it drives, the way that it feels, the way that it kind of looks inside, apart from this new touchscreen. I think the price is maybe a little bit too high for this category, because you can get, as I said, more powerful or options that have more range for similar money or less money. You're just paying for that footprint that Hyundai has in Australia.